The subject for today is some resources, Siri, security, privacy, some battery life, and troubleshooting. And so let's get going. To start off with, how to find out information by yourself on a phone, a watch, an iPad, etc. Here's some of the resources you can have. If you go into the app Books and go into the bookstore, they have all the free Apple user guides. And so let's go ahead and jump into that. Okay, so let me open up Books. I don't see it, so we'll type in Books. There it is. And so you go into, when you're in Books, there's what you're reading, your library, which are the books that you have, and then there's the bookstore. And if we go in the bookstore, you can go up to the Browse sections and look at computers and internet. And what we want to do is look, whoops, let's do that one again. Let's scroll down and you'll see where it says Free Apple Users Guides. And then underneath that, that's the program for the Macs on how to do it. But let's take a look at, let's do iPad. And then there's a user guide for iPad OS 14.2. And so you can find that, or let's go back and see all. And we should be able to find the older ones, which I don't see right now. That's iPad. No, it's just the latest ones. Oh, there we go. Underneath it, there's some older ones, and you can scroll through. So if your phone won't go all the way to 14, you can find the manual, or your iPad or whatever, you can find the appropriate manual. So these are free. To get any of those, you simply tap on Get. You have to confirm with Apple, and it's now downloading the latest, greatest user's guide for iPad OS 14.2. So that the bookstore will allow you to do that. And I know our generation, we like printed books. Well, this is not quite printed, but at least they're books. Speaking of on the website, using the web in your browser, if you go to the link that I show, and click on that, you can see this is the Apple support page, and they have all their manuals there. So if I click on iPad, now this will give me different manuals for different machines. And so I can download the one that's appropriate for my machine and for the operating system. So this will also, if we click on, let's go the fourth, and now this is not much. How come it's not much? Browse my manual. That's a very small one. Let's try that again. Those are very small. This is not giving me what I expect. Interesting. So let's look for iPad.
Some are information and some are user guides.
Yeah, right. Information And load more results. Well, there's most of them are information. Interesting. Okay. So that's not a good spot to do. The second link that I have, and these of course are on the website under my class. If we click on that one and go here, this is downloads. And if we look at about iOS 14 updates, they'll tell you all the changes in the various iOS 14. So if there's a new version out and you want to know what's in it, this is a good place to find it. And it's true of not only this, but iOS 13 and all the different versions. So that's kind of a nice thing to look. If you've installed something like you put in 14.2 and you have no idea what got added for that, you can look it up here and see what is it that I just gave myself when I added iOS 14.2. Because it's really easy to lose track of all the features that get added. There are some other websites, imore.com, 9to5mac.com, Macworld, Mac Rumors. They all give you information about Apple stuff. And so if you've got questions about how things work, you can often find them in their websites. And of course, as Denny says, you just go into the search bar and type in what you want to know about. If you want to know about intercom for iOS 14, you can search for it and get, we hope, some good answers. Okay, so now let's jump into Siri. Siri is a app and a service that allows you to search for things via voice, although it can be done by typing. And let's start right off and go into the settings and see what's there. So I'm going to go in and tap on settings. And we'll find Siri and search, which is right here. Now this allows you to set the conditions under which you are going to get Siri's attention. If you don't want to use the term hey, and I'm not going to say Siri, I'll say hey Shirley, so that machines don't start jumping up and down. But if you want to be able to say it, you set it here. If you don't want it waking up that way, turn it off. If you want to be able to press the sleep awake button or top button on the iPad, side button on the iPhone, there's a switch for that. Some people are quite concerned about security because Siri will answer some questions if you allow it to when the phone or the iPad is locked. If you don't want people to say, to find out where you live when they pick up your phone, then turn this off. It's a convenience versus security issue. Then, of course, there's all kinds of settings for language, what language you want. We'll go into that one. And Sam, does the English India work well for you?
Okay. No, sorry, I didn't know they had the English in India. First time I'm seeing that.
Okay, well, I'll give you a homework assignment if you would. tell me
Okay.
if it works or not when you get a chance to try it.
Okay, they might say American Indian English or Indian American. Okay, yeah, I'll try it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go back. The Siri response, you can change the voice. So if you want an Australian female or male, you can. The Siri responses, if you only want Siri to respond with "Hey Siri," you can. If you want to respond with a voice, always you can do that as well. Or if you have the silent mode turned on, you can have it so when it'll only work when the silence mode is off. And captions. Let me show you how to use this. I'll ask a question. I'm going to turn off the captions. And hey Siri, what time is it?
It's 10:19 a.m.
Okay, and now I'm going to turn it on. What time is it?
It's 10:19 a.m.
You see, it showed what I asked as well. And if you have the sound off, then that can be helpful. With iOS 14, both Siri and the telephone no longer fill the entire screen when you invoke either a call comes in or when you ask Siri something. So it's less intrusive. I kind of like that. If you want Siri to know about you so that you ask something like, oh, you're downtown LA someplace and you want to go home, so you can ask Shirley, how do I get home? And the maps will then know exactly how to do it. If you haven't put in your information, Siri will not know where you live. And so you have to have a contact of yourself in your contact list. And I'm going to tap on there and we're going to scroll down and find me. And you see, for the first Bob Newcomb, it says me. That means I've told Siri to use this contact to get information about me. And so you should have that so that you can conveniently ask the way to get home, or you can ask for things like, call my sister, because inside the contact, you can put in spouses, sisters, brothers, friends, cousins, etc. And then when you invoke, call my cousin, you'll probably get a question, which cousin do you mean? And gives you a couple choices. So that's kind of nice.
Bob, I have a question.
Yes.
When I went to Indian English, it says it's downloading and it's only like 2% down in a few minutes. It's a pretty big download.
Yeah, sure, because it needs to understand all the inflections and all the vernacular of English in India. And so, yes, it's a big download.
Oh,
You don't want to turn this on for every language in the world.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So we went to settings first, which can be distressing, but that's okay. So now Siri itself. In order to invoke Siri, and if you've turned on listen for hey, Shirley, all you have to do is say it out loud. If you have more than one device that's close by, they talk to each other and decide who's going to answer. And I'd like to say it's straightforward who's going to answer, but it isn't. Sometimes a HomePod will, sometimes a phone will, sometimes an iPad will. It learns from your where you are and what you've been doing, and it tends to settle on one after a few attempts. So when you say it out loud, a device will answer. You can also hold down on the home button and wait for the indicator that it's listening. Or if it doesn't have a home button, you hold down on the side button or top button, depending on iPad OS, and you can see that Siri, oh, you can't see this. Yes, you can see that Siri's listening to me.
Just to confirm, you'd like to call West Razzle.
I don't know how she got West Razzle out of that. That was a neighbor of mine in the 70s.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, let's stop the listening.
Yeah.
Okay, so either hold down the side or top button for a while, and once that little spinning icon or GIF comes up, then you can talk. Or you can say, "Hey, Siri," and it should respond. Okay, now what can you do with Siri? Let me switch over. This changes all the time. So things appear and tend not to go away, but you can make calls or FaceTime calls. You can run apps. You can ask for messages. For example, if you're in your car and you're not supposed to be tapping on your phone, you can say, "Hey, Shirley, do I have any messages?" And if you do, she'll read them, presuming you have a female voice. If you have a male voice, he'll read them. And you can respond to messages. You can do the same thing with email. You can ask for sport results and information. You can ask it to show photos. You can look for maps and directions, reminders. It's got quite a database on movies. You can make reservations, particularly through some apps. For example, OpenTable. You can ask for how the stock market is doing. That's interesting. Hey Siri, how's the market doing today? So now my iPad, HomePod answered somewhere else in the house. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, did that one say ha ha, or did you say ha ha?
I don't know what she said because it's in the other room.
I'm wondering, Mark, it's funny.
She's still talking out there, by the way. You can bring up apps like Notes. You can tell Siri to start a note on, and Notes app will open up. You can ask Siri a bunch of funny questions. Why is there air? What's the meaning of life? All kinds of things, and you'll get some funny responses. It changes from time to time, and sometimes you ask the question a second time, you'll get a different answer. You can even, let's see, you can even ask Siri to tell a joke. Usually the jokes are terrible. You can correct pronunciation. Let me do that for you. Let's switch over. Email Julia.
What's the subject of your?
No, I don't want to do that. I'm trying to get her to say Julia's name.
Maybe being a proper noun.
Give me the contact of Julia. Nope, that's not doing it. Well, That's funny because this worked the other night.
Is it because it's
I'm trying to get her to mispronounce Julia's last name, and then I would correct it. But here's what happens. She'll say a name and mispronounce it. Then you'll respond immediately with, that's not how to pronounce her name. And she'll then say, okay, give you the first name. Is this correct? And you can say yes. And she gives you a couple of choices of sounds. And then the last name, and you a couple of choices, and you pick the one you want. And that's how you can correct it. So someone's got an unusual spelling of a name or an unusual pronunciation, you can correct it. Siri is a very personal thing. You got to try it yourself.
Yes, Sam has a question.
Succeed and fail on your own machine, on your own pronunciation with your own devices, and figure out what you'll do.
I have a question, Bob.
Keep
when
at
I
it,
was looking
keep
for
trying. I use Siri a lot for turning on and
I'm
off.
not sure I understand.
So I knew Siri had a problem, but Siri was listening from my Mac. Anyway, keep trying at it. Keep trying different things, and you'll learn what Siri can and cannot do. Oh yeah, I was about to say that I use Siri a lot for things like setting my timer for 10 minutes or turn my alarm on in the morning. So I'll say, hey, Shirley, set my alarm for 7:30 a.m. and the alarm will be set. I use it to put reminders in. So I can say, let's see if this works, add Lever 2000 soap to my groceries list. Are you?
Okay, I added it to your groceries list.
Okay. So I do use that a lot, and I use it to turn on and off lights. Oh, now that's a cute dog. Is she trying to figure out how to use Siri?
This is Disney.
I wonder if you can have one of the languages dog. So that's what I use it a lot for, especially the everyday routine around the house of setting timers and alarms, and my grocery list is what I commonly do. I'll stick my head in the refrigerator, discover we're low on milk. We'll then call out to, hey, Shirley, add milk to my groceries list, and it happens. So then I walk around the store with the phone in hand and look for whatever I need to on groceries.
Siri
Bob,
helps with crossword puzzle answers sometimes too.
Oh, yes, sure. That you do know that's cheating. You notice I acknowledged that very quickly, which means me too.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Settings. This is a stickier part of what we're going to do. Let's talk about some things. We've left Siri. We're going on to miscellaneous things in settings that you might want to look at. One of them is optimizing your storage. If storage is getting to be a bit of a problem on your device, you're getting full, there are things that you can do about it. We'll go into settings and general and iPad storage or iPhone storage. Now it's going to look at your machine, your device, and tell you where you are. This is a very large iPad, and it's hardly full at all. I've only used, oh, that's interesting. It's 184 gig out of 1 terabyte. if you look down this list, you'll see that the first one, enable offloading unused apps. If you've got a lot of apps and you're not using them, you can enable that. And now, if you don't have any usage of apps, it will get rid of the app from your device, but it will not get rid of the data. So if you don't use an app for a year, 5 months, 3 months, and you're running out of storage, by checking this box, it will delete the app, but not the data. And then later on, when you want to use it, if you go into, let's go into the App Store, and my little icon up on the top right corner, right here, and if I go in there, I can look at all the items that I've purchased. So I'm going to tap on Purchased and My Purchases. And then you can look at all of the apps or the apps that are not on the iPad. So these are apps that I have deleted. And if I want them back, all I have to do is get it back here. So if I want, I can't find one I want. Oh, let's just pick this Obscura camera. If I hit the download, it's going to put it back on my device. So if you delete an app, you get rid of the app and the data. But if you tell Siri to just delete apps, if you're running out of room, it will delete the app without the storage. So that's one way to, let's go back here to settings, iPad storage. That's one way to get rid of that. Now you can look at large attachments. So if I click on that, it'll show me all the large files that I have on my phone. Interesting. Well, these are mostly movies, and they're quite large. So you can get rid of things that way, and I'm not going to, but if you slide it to the left, you can delete it. And then there are all the apps that you have, and let's take a look at podcasts, because it says it's 100 gig there. And so this is, the app size is only 19 megabytes, but there's 115 gig of podcasts, which are mostly movies and or video and audio. And so I can go through and delete one by one. So if I take one and slide it over to the left, I can delete it. Podcasts are one good way to fill up your device, because sometimes these files are pretty big. Here's one. These are 26 gig, 18 gig, so I can get rid of that. So I found that podcasts are what will load up my machine the most. So let's go back. And so now this is in descending order of what's using a lot of room on your device. So it's a good way to clean things up is to go into the iPad storage. On a different note, you can share your home Wi-Fi from your phone or iPad. And so when another device in your house, let's say your cousin comes over, wearing a mask, I hope, and your cousin wants to get into your Wi-Fi. When he or she tries, you will get this showing up on your on your phone or your iPad. And you can then send the password to them to let them use your router to get to the internet without giving them the actual Wi-Fi password. So it's one machine talking to another, giving them permission. So that's kind of a nice feature. That started about a year and a half ago. And a lot of people haven't seen it yet, but it's out there. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about security. All right, passcode locks. Not everybody uses a passcode. The term passcode by Apple means it's the whatever you have to type in to unlock your phone or your iPad. If they use the word password, it's usually for things like their Apple ID password, etc. The passcode is only for to unlock your phone or iPad. And once you see, when you set it, let's go into let's go to settings and Face ID and passcode. Go into there and they immediately want your passcode. So I'm going to type it in. And now I have Face ID because that's the type of phone I have. If you have a Touch ID, this will be for that. And you're allowed to use what it is for Face ID or Touch ID to do. Do you want it to unlock your phone? Do you want to authorize a payment through iTunes or the App Store? Do you want to use it to use Apple Pay, fill in passwords, and also 15 apps that I have use the Face ID to open them up. So my password storage program will use Face ID. My Discover uses Face ID. So you can use it for that. You can reset that or reset your Touch ID. You have 5 Touch IDs or 2 Face IDs you can use. The problem with Face ID now is it doesn't like masks. And so, therefore, you could be in the grocery store and see someone quickly pull down their mask, stare at their camera or to their phone, and pull the mask back up, which is not strictly per the rules, but people do that. So in that way, the old Touch ID is a little bit better, but Face ID is so fast.
I thought they used to use. I thought they wanted to use your eyes.
You can turn on whether you want it to see your eyes or not. If you turn this off that says require attention for Face ID, if you turn that off, you can put sunglasses on and make it work. But as I said, Face ID works extremely well, except when you cover your face with a mask. It's using the sensor on the front of the newer phones, the 3D sensor to get a map of your face. It gives 30,000 dots on your face, creates a map of it. But when you cover it with a mask, it tends to fail.
Bob, if you set it up with a mask on, would it then recognize?
Nope, won't work.
Good idea.
It'll reject that because it can't find your mouth.
Oh, okay.
And your nose, and it will end up failing. Now, some people have said that if you put half of the mask on and tell it to use this as an alternative, that there's enough information on it, it might work. However, I don't know if that's factual or not. I've not tried it. So now, passcodes are really recommended. There are 3 ways when you go in and set your passcode. One is the old 4-character, which used to be the default. Now the default is 6 characters. I went to a much longer password, and you can set that. The problem is now with a face mask, I have to type it in or pull the face mask down. And so the longer ones are more irritating than they used to be. Touch ID, not so much a problem, but when you're using Face ID, if you have a long password, it takes a while to get in. But it's really good to have a passcode lock because people get into your phones, can get into your phones if you leave it alone. I've heard people say, but I don't have anything in my phone that I care about. Well, you do have photos in there, and your photos have GPS, and they may be able to look and find out where your granddaughter lives by looking at photos.
Okay.
Or they can look and see where you've been. That's scary. Let me show you that.
Or your grandkids may get your phone and play around with it, and who knows what you just bought.
Yes, definitely. I had somebody complain to me that things weren't working right on their phone, and they weren't able to buy things. She was struggling being able to buy things, and when I looked at her phone, the granddaughter had set it up so she was able to buy everything she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now you know that sometimes you can't trust your grandkids. And you can, some people use passwords that use the first letter or number in a sentence, of each word in a sentence. So they all have to do is memorize a sentence, and they can figure out their passwords. There are ways to set up so you can remember a password or a passcode and still make it fairly easy to do.
Okay, but just security-wise, I was asking, the longer the better. I read somewhere.
Tends to be. Here. And talk about auto-locking. If you have a phone with a very short auto-lock, it's very irritating. And because you'll do something, turn away, a minute later you look back and the phone is locked. And you can change that. Let's go in and we'll go into settings, display and brightness, and auto lock is set for 5 minutes, which is kind of the maximum on a phone. You can put never, but that means it never goes to sleep. You'll run out of battery and you have no security. So never is a bad idea. But use the time that you want. On a iPad, your options are a little different. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and never. So your iPad you tend to use for things like reading. And if you haven't turned a page in 15 minutes, then you're probably asleep. So if you turn a page in less than 15 minutes, this won't go to sleep. So that's kind of nice to know. The defaults tend to be too short. So you probably want to go in and adjust the length of the auto lock. If you use Face ID or Touch ID, the lock, when you turn a device off, the lock is set immediately, and you have to enter your password or use your face or touch. But if you don't, you can set a time of a minute later, I can turn it on and not require a password. So if you're not using Face ID or Touch ID, then you have adjustments to how long it'll stay locked. And that is in your passwords area. Let me go in there, enter the require, it says require password immediately. Well, I can't change it now because I use Face ID and password. But if you don't use Touch ID or Face ID, then you can change the length of time it will not require a password after you have put it to sleep. Okay, what time are we right now? We're at 1 hour. There's 2 sections that I've got, 3 sections I've got. So why don't we save those for next week after next? So no class on Thanksgiving Day. There's a class the week after that. And then we'll go over Find My, which is how to find people, share your locations, find your device. And then there's a section called Me, which we'll go through. And then we'll also go through privacy and optimize battery life. And then get into troubleshooting if things are a problem. One last thing I will show you now to try and convince you to use a passcode is we go into settings. I'm looking for location. That's under privacy someplace there, privacy, and then location services. And now I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and tap on System Services. And then I'm going to go look at significant locations. I'll tap on that, and it tells me everywhere I've been for the last month that the phone is tracked. You can tell that in these days of COVID, I don't go many places anymore. But if we go into Brea, then you can see which restaurants and whatever that I've been to. So now, if you have no passcode on your device, people can see where you've been if they know where to go. If you do not want your phone to know where you've been, go in here and turn this off. If you want it to know, that's fine. This information does not go to Apple. This stays on your phone. Difference between Android and iOS is on iOS, your location information is stored on your phone instead of at Google. Okay, so that's the one last thing I wanted to show. So we have any more questions?
Just why would you want that information? Why would you want to know where you've been?
If you're going on a vacation, it's really nice to see. If you want to see when the last time you went to the grocery store, it's there. If you don't want that information, turn it off. It's your choice. Okay. Well, if that's it, then let's call it a week. We'll meet again in 2 weeks and have a good Turkey Day, a good Thanksgiving holiday. Be safe. Don't do things that you're going to regret. Yeah, Dennis. I will see you in 2 weeks.